Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurkan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter World. Today we're going to be talking about the Ancient Leshen. Yes, it is another one of those monsters that a lot of people in the community don't really like because it is pretty much scaled for 4 players all the time. So even if you queue in by yourself, it is going to be upscaled to 4 players, and it is going to be on the same level of difficulty as the Behemoth from the Final Fantasy collab a while back, in particular the Extreme Behemoth. So it is going to require a well-coordinated team or some pretty good randoms. As a matter of fact, the attempt that you guys are watching in the background right now is in a complete bug setting. I just went into the filter looking for groups, and I got into that pug. We got in there. This was actually the second attempt, and some people in the group actually changed, so it's not like we had time to organize, just like people knew the tactics overall, and it made the fight, I wouldn't say easy, but I would say manageable. And today I'm here to give you guys a couple of tips on hopefully how you can achieve just that. Now, before we begin, I'm going to quickly provide you guys with 3 different builds that you might want to use or not, depending on how you actually play the game. So this is the very first one. This build is a basic heavy bowgun sticky build. I'm not particularly well versed with heavy bowguns, as you guys no doubt know. This is how I would do it, but most likely someone who is more experienced in heavy bowguns might have a better build than my own. One of the things that you guys can't see on screen right now on the skills that you're also getting with this is the razor sharp spare shot. But basically the whole point of this build is to shoot him in the face with sticky ammunition, level 3, because that is essentially going to stagger the crap out of the Ancient Leshen, and that is going to give your group a whole lot of openings to deal damage. So that is one of the builds that I would advise you guys to potentially use if you happen to know how to use a heavy bowgun. We actually don't have a heavy bowgunner in the group that I'm showing you in the background, but this is among what I would consider to be one of the most useful roles when fighting the Leschen. The sticky heavy bowgun is just really, really good because of the consistent staggers and opportunities that you get on top of the monster. Now, another build that I would like to show you, I'm not sure if I've shared this build with you guys before or not, but this is called the Shroom Beats. Now, Shroom Beats consists of using a hunting horn combined with the Mushroom Mancer skill as well as wide range to consistently provide your party with a wide array of buffs. And basically, you will buff the crap out of your group, but it doesn't end after you buff the crap out of them with all the songs we're talking about. Attack Up XL, we're talking about Defense Up XL, as well as your own like personal improvement to increase damage and all that. Your job doesn't end there though, because after you're done with that, you're going to be essentially providing the role of a healer for your group, and that means drinking a bunch of mega health potions. That means eating a bunch of blue mushrooms, and basically keeping your group healed up just like you would in an MMO setting. This is kind of very similar to the build that I did previously called the White Mage, and the whole point is, again, buffing your party and healing your party. This is the build that I use for that if I use the hunting horn. However, in my personal case, it's like I'm not that good at using the hunting horn. I'll be the first one to admit it. Like, I can use the weapon, I can do the buffs, I can do all that stuff, but it usually limits my damage quite a bit because I have a harder time finding openings with the hunting horn. And it's also not really a weapon that I enjoy using all that much. Like, I like pulling it out for fun every now and then, but it's not necessarily something that I would want to bring into like a really hard fight. But having said that, if you do play with hunting horn, this is something that I would recommend. Feel free to, criticize this or the heavy bowgun build that I talked about previously. And finally, the last build that I want to show you is pretty much the same thing as the hunting horn build. However, it's got a difference in the weapon, and that is, instead of using a hunting horn, I'm using a sword and shield because, as you guys know, I'm much more well-versed with the sword and shield, and as such, that enables me to basically get all the openings that I could possibly want, beat the crap out of the monster with sword and shield while still providing all of those useful buffs. I've actually made a mistake in the video that you guys are watching, so if you do the build like what is on screen right now, you will get more damage than the damage that I was dealing in that video, because I've been so sleep deprived that instead of using a Blaze Charm level 3 in that video, I'm using a Fire Charm level 3. So essentially, instead of having level 3 fire attack, I have level 3 fire resistance. And let me tell you, fire resistance is like the best skill to use in the Ancient Leshen. That's sarcasm right there. In case you guys didn't pick that up, don't use fire resistance on the Ancient Leshen because it's pretty damn useless. So anyway, the whole point of this build is to do the same thing as the healer, which is why you guys will see throughout the video that is going on in the background, one of the things that I'm focusing most of my attention on is keeping everybody healed up. Whether that is through using blue mushrooms, whether that is through using mega potions, it's just like I am going through my whole inventory, and I try to restock whenever we swap areas to basically keep the whole group up. In my opinion, these are the two most important roles in this fight. It is you're either staggering the crap out of the monster with a sticky heavy bowgun, or you're healing the crap out of your group. In my opinion, the healer is actually the more important one, but you know, I'm the one playing the healer, so maybe that's what I would say. But I just think that the healer is so important on this fight because it really does allow the rest of your party to focus on dishing out damage, on getting all their openings in, and not be overly concerned and overly cautious about actually attacking the monster. Because otherwise, there are so many moves that will straight up deal upwards of 70% of your party's health, like to everyone. There's so many moves that the Ancient Leshen does that will straight up just like knock somebody down to 30% in one hit, regardless of their armor, regardless of how much vitality they have. That is just, players are forced to play extremely cautiously, look for the openings, study it a whole lot. Whereas if they see that there's someone just like pumping heals into the party non-stop, they'll go ham, and that actually creates more opportunities for people to engage because they'll eventually break parts, they might eventually generate a KO, they might eventually get a mount or something of that nature, and again, openings means people can go in, can do more damage, so that's why I personally take the role of the healer with the Leschen. So now that you guys got the builds and the reason why I use those builds, let's talk about the fight itself. What's the biggest challenge when it comes to dealing with the Ancient Leshen? In my opinion, the fight in and of itself isn't even super hard. The biggest problem with the fight is, I don't want to say RNG because it's not completely RNG, but sometimes certain situations do happen that make it super hard for you guys to counter what the monster is doing. But basically, the biggest tip of all is just straight up bring a crap ton of flashpods. Just straight up bring 3 flash pods and bring the 10 flash fly bugs so that you can craft 3 more and just spam this guy with flash pods. I'm not even kidding. That's exactly what you got to do in order to survive. It's like, oh, the handler warns you. Oh, someone's trapped or something. I forget what the line is that she says. Someone's trapped. We need help. There's an emergency. What do you got to do? Flash them in the face. That completely breaks that spell. Or you can also burn you can use the Igni sign to burn the branches that the other person is stuck in. But the Igni sign, unless you're using the actual Geralt set, I don't find that to be particularly useful. Sure, every now and then you can get a stagger in the boss, so yeah, sure, go in there, bump the Igni sign in his face, whatever. But ultimately, flash pods, in my opinion, way more important, way more reactive. You don't have to physically go to the location where the person is stuck in order to free them. Just pop a flash on top of his eyes, boom, done. Person is free. So that is one of the biggest mechanics that will straight up kill people. Like if someone gets stuck in that thing and nobody frees them, they will die. 100% guaranteed they will die if they are not freed. Because what happens is he sticks them in there and then he throws ravens at them, or crows, whatever you want to call them, revultures at them, and then the revultures will deal ticking damage, and then when their health is at about 30% or whatever, he makes a giant root pop up from the ground, and that will deal massive damage and flat out kill them. So if you don't free someone who is stuck when the handler says an emergency or whatever it is that she says, that person is going to die, and it is going to cost you 1 card for that quest. So that's one of the first things that you got to pay attention to. The other thing is, on the very first area that you fight him, you guys most likely saw us do that, you want to drop the rocks on him. That's going to be 3,300 something damage straight from the get-go. So you want to drop those rocks on him for sure the very first time you get there. Make sure you don't miss out on that because that's some really good damage. Another thing, doing the mounting cheese does not work as well on this boss. So if you guys don't know what the mounting cheese is, usually one of the tactics that was employed in the Extreme Behemoth was that someone would mount the monster. I myself have done this multiple times. And instead of knocking him down by doing the regular mounting rotation of just like spamming attacks and jumping around and spamming more attacks until the monster's staggered and then you can finish the attack and bring him to the ground, you could actually hold on and stay on top of the behemoth, because that would make a lot of his attacks be more predictable, not be as tough to deal with. So that was a tactic. With this guy, it becomes a lot harder to do that, because he will actually put his hands on the ground, do this nasty AoE that does a lot of damage. So I wouldn't advise you guys to do the mounting cheese. If you get a mount off, knock him down, let people get their shots in. Another very important thing, if you have an ability that knocks people away, try not to use that when the Leschen is downed, or aim that ability in a way that you can hit an area that other players aren't focusing. So for instance, if you're playing with a wyvern, if you're playing with a gun lance, try to aim your wyvern's fire away from the rest of the party. Because here's the thing, I understand, you want to do your big move that's going to deal the big dick damage, and you want to be the hero and just dish out as much damage as you can. Here's the thing, no matter how much damage you do, you're never going to deal more damage than 3 other people attacking the monster. Okay, so curb your heroics and make sure not to stagger everybody else in your party with your ultimate ability or your ultimate attack, whatever you happen to have at that time, okay? Play nice, because everybody needs to deal damage, and the hitbox for the Leschen is relatively small. It's not like people can go and hit on different locations, okay? Everybody's going to want to hit that head, particularly if it is a sword and shield user with his shield that is trying to bash the head to get KO. If it is a hammer trying to get KO, if it is whoever trying to get KO, let them try to get that KO, because it's going to be much more useful in the long run, particularly if they score part breaks, which are going to prevent them from summoning as many Jagras as possible. Taking us to the point when he summons the Jagras. So these are not your usual Jagras, okay? They're going to have red eyes, and they're going to deal a ton of damage, to the point where they can actually kill a player relatively fast if he's not paying attention. The way that I personally deal with it is whenever he summons the Jagras, I try to identify the target of the Jagras, and I run over to him and I pop down a health booster to try and keep that person alive for as long as possible. Usually most people realize, oh, there's a health booster, I'm going to run over there because that is where I'll be safe from all of this damage that's going to be coming in. Because it's not just the Jagras attacking you, it's also going to be the Ancient Leshen attacking your party at the same time. So the health booster is a really good help. Having a healer is another really good help. The other thing is the entire party really needs to focus down those Jagras, because it is pretty hard for the other person to survive. So the Jagras is another mechanic that's very important. And then potentially what I would consider to be the most important mechanic of all is his ultimate. Now, when he's about to do like his ultimate attack, which is this massive AoE with the Revoltures, you will see that the camera zooms out a little bit, and the boss starts shaking, and he's going like he's really charging up for a super special move. What do you got to do then? What did I tell you about flashpods? You flash him in the face. The second you flash him in the face, cancels him out of the attack. No harm, no foul. However, if you don't flash him in the face, that attack has enough firepower to knock down your entire party in one hit. So, like I said at the start of the video, bring plenty of flash pods and plenty of flash flies, and make sure that you restock every time the boss repositions. Usually the boss moves between areas 1, the center of the map, which I forget what that area is with the big boulder, but it's usually between areas 1, that center of the map, 8, or 11. So usually whenever you see the boss teleport, just open up your map, see where he's going, teleport to the closest area, restock, and then continue on to the boss. Another very important thing, never, ever, 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 ever enter the stage where the boss is in alone. That is a big mistake. Every time that the boss moves, you make sure that your whole party is ready to go in before you go in by yourself. Because otherwise you're going to go in by yourself, you're going to cost your party another cart. And that is another wasted opportunity, because as you progress through the fight, it gets intensively harder. Particularly on the final stage, I've done that fight plenty of times where I've taken it all the way to the final stage, and then I get to the end and, you know, a bunch of people just die because, oh, we failed to flash him on the ultimate, or, oh, we grabbed someone and we didn't notice. So it is extremely important to cart as least as possible, and carting because you go into the area where the boss is by yourself is completely and utterly inexcusable. There's no reason whatsoever to die in that situation. You'll see that the group that I'm with right now, which is again a pug group, is actually pretty good about doing that. We usually wait for each other before we go to the next stage of the fight. This is a pretty long fight, so remember, once again, restock. So flashpods, restock, try to bring a healer if you can, and just flash the crap out of him. Now, another important thing is E is also a bit of a frustrating fight in certain stages because he's going to be teleporting all over the place. You might feel tempted to flash him when he goes on this teleporting frenzy. I would actually advise against that, because what has happened in the past is that I've seen people flash him when he does that. I myself have done this. I'm like, look at this bastard just like teleporting all over the place. I'm going to flash him. And the second I flashed him, he triggered his ultimate ability, and he did it so fast that most of us weren't able to react in time, and it got us a bunch of cards, and we ended up dying. So when he's going like teleport crazy on you, just be patient. Just wait for your time. Just bide your time. Be patient. Deal with the mechanics. Hopefully your healer can keep you up while he's teleporting, throwing revoltures all over the place and doing all of the other nasty abilities. And just survive. That's basically the key aspect of this fight. If you can survive the fight, you're good. It's a survival fight. It's an endurance fight. It's not a sprint. It's not a fight where you're going to go in and dish out massive amounts of damage and destroy this boss in seconds. Like, I don't even remember how much time it took us to do this. I think it was about 26 minutes on this attempt that you are watching. But yeah, it takes a while. Now, I'll let the fight play out until the end so that you guys can actually watch the whole fight. I believe we have one feint in this, and that is because at one point I get a mount, and I think that they were so used to me healing them that they weren't even that concerned about it. So when I got a mount, the boss did an AoE attack, this person didn't heal, the boss did another AoE attack, and he died. So you could almost say it was my fault as the healer for grabbing that mount, but I was trying to get a mount so that we could get another opening. I'm always trying to get mounts when I'm playing Sword and Shield because it's just such a good, it gives you such a nice space for people to deal damage that I'm always trying to get those mounts. But, right there we happen to get screwed over by it. Either way, that's how you deal with the Ancient Leshen, and then you have to pray to RNGesus because unfortunately, the material that you need to get the layered armor sets, which you can get Geralt layered armor set and Ciri layered armor set, as well as now you can also get the actual Ciri armor, which comes with its own set of stats, and the Ciri dual swords. The material that you actually need to get the Ciri layered armor and the Geralt layered armor is RNG. I can tell you guys right now, at this point, I've defeated him either 4 or 5 times, and I've only got 1 mutagen. 1. That means that I've only been able to craft Geralt's armor. I'm yet to craft Geralt's layered armor. I'm yet to craft Ciri's layered armor, and that's kind of disappointing. Because, like, with me, I've had people that have gotten, like, 3, 4 mutagens, and I'm just sitting there like, wow, that's great. That's great for you guys. But yeah, guys, that's the Ancient Leshen. Those are my tips for you. If you guys enjoyed the video, remember, hit up that like button. If you guys are new here, subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon so that you're actually notified. Let me know how you guys feel about the Ancient Leshen. I already know that a lot of people are going to be upset. But either way, feedback in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next one.